Hey everyone, Tammy here. How you guys doing today? My printer's going. It should be done here in a minute. It's done. I'm getting ready to do a live talk on the Synergessence Facebook page. I can put that link in the box below because every Wednesday I'm going live now at 3 Eastern to talk on making sense of sense. And that's what I'm calling it. And today it's about what oils to avoid when there is a fever and other little fun things, especially about what I'm going to be doing, what revolutionary aromatherapy is. I've talked about, it is actually aromagenomics, and it's aromagenomics revolutionary aromatherapy, and really the distinction between that and what I'm doing on the Synergessence page is phenomenal, especially after what was presented to me yesterday, 2 days ago, which is what brings me here to talk with you here. And what I was propositioned with was to write a book in the line of the blood type diet. And I think I might have actually talked about it here before, not a lot. So just to kind of give you a little bit of a background, I do have extensive coursework in holistic nutrition. So what am I trying to say? And so, we're talking years, and because I'm fascinated by food, and really what it comes down to, and this is the whole idea behind breaking the cycle of disease management. So before I go any further, if you haven't had received access to that yet, you can go to my website and claim your gift, and that's my gift to you if you want it. And it is the premise of aromagenomics. It's actually how I ended up deriving this methodology because of the history in medicine, and it includes nutrition in this. So when somebody came to me and said, well, you should actually write a book, you should consider the blood type diet for yourself, you should adapt it for yourself based on your health issues, and then write a book on your journey. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds kind of like I might do it, but I was really confronted. It stopped me 2 days. Overwhelmed, confusion. I just didn't know what to do with this, because so many people swear by it, but then again, it's just one methodology. So, and I have kind of aligned with it in the past just because it made sense. But then this year has really kind of spun it out of control for me as far as research, investigation, and getting to the root of all health issues. And this is the same thing I've said in other videos. It all comes down to the same initializing chemistry. So with that in mind, I cannot align with, I do and I don't, and here's why. So I can align with it because the blood type diet, like any diet, is all about controlling the body, hands down. And so they've, clearly this Dr. Diamo came out with his method of like, well, if you're blood type A, you do eat these things and avoid these foods. And he did the same thing for B's and O's and ABs, right? And again, it's all about controlling the body, because the thing is, they say blood type A people are more prone to cancer, they're more prone to autoimmune disorders, and so on. So if you go vegetarian, be a vegetarian. That's basically what it says. And you guys, I've been a vegetarian since conception. And it may sound like a very strange thing to say, but it's a fact. My mother was put on a very strict diet while I was still in utero. She'd only gone 3 months into her term and was told that she could no longer consume more than so many calories a day, which consisted of carrots, celery, and crackers, saltines. That was all she was allowed to eat for 6 months. When I was born, I weighed over 8 pounds and she weighed less than 100. And we're basically the same height. We're both 5'8", well, give or take a centimeter or so. We're the same height, and we're the same build. I can't even imagine myself weighing less than 100 pounds. And that's what she weighed after I was born. So she lost a lot, and how I survived is beyond explanation, because I had absolutely no protein for over 6 months when I was born. And that said, that's all I ever wanted after that. All I ever wanted to do was eat the vegetables. And of course, you know, she would opt back into, you know, she went back to her normal diet, and meat was part of the deal, and milk was part of the deal, and cheese was part of the deal, and I wanted nothing to do with any of it. I would sit there and I would eat every damn bit of my vegetables and wouldn't drink the milk, nothing. I didn't want any of it. I just never felt good with it. So that said, I've basically been a vegan vegetarian, depending on my pregnancies, for my entire life. And yet I still developed cancer. And I still developed arthritis. So my journey has really been, yeah, it's not a functional diet as far as prevention is concerned. And I know a year ago when I started doing videos about my journey with regards to breast cancer, it was a little bit more somber and more emotional. And, you know, 1 year does an awful lot, especially when you're presented with this ridiculous pandemic that we've been living through, and the stories that are circulating around it, and what it all means as far as human resilience is concerned, and vaccinations, and, you know, everything. The bottom line to that statement is that as soon as I started hearing these experts come out and start, and then it was a back and forth. It was a complete flip-flop. One day this, one day that, you know, it's just like there was no consistent story. And it was only a couple of weeks into the entire pandemic that I just launched into a full-on investigation. I presented a paper to a medical journal on building immune resilience. And it was an abstract. I didn't provide them with all the information. I gave them the abstract and was told that their readership wouldn't be interested in it. So, again, all of these months under my belt of consistently investigating, and I've talked about this before, but now with the whole blood type thing, I'm confident, more confident than I ever have been, and that the key to all health or wellness, the key to wellness is stability. Okay, wellness precedes health. Okay, so number one, it's a mindset. That's the reason why I've started Heart Disposition. It's a mindset. You can check out, I have a website called heartdisposition.com because the mindset, our emotions are in fact imperative to get these in check. I even have a group on Facebook, Heart Disposition Facebook group. It is a private group because it's really about making friends, making peace with our emotions, and learning how to see the wisdom in the emotions and begin to self-regulate, because this is essential to creating stability in the body, but it's not the only factor. And one of the things that and this is one of the premises of aromagenomics, is the fact that for years we've talked about the brain-body connection, or the mind-body connection, right? The mind-body, and how the two go together. Well, that comes into the emotional part, all right? But it's not the mind-body, it's the mind-brain, because the brain regulates all physiological function. And if we don't like the way the body is reacting to, or the health concerns that the body is demonstrating, then what we need to look at is the activity of the stress system, which is in fact a real system. It was acknowledged and spoken about, recognized, written about within the last 10 years. And there's a very specific chemistry that is activated when that system is in full on hyperdrive. I'll put the link to the box in the box below for the hormonal changes affecting our kids. But although it talks about kids, this does reference all human beings. Okay, it is for everybody. So that said, you have a shift in chemistry, and which is going to reduce the body's ability to break down carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, because the digestive process is slowed down, because acetylcholine is being used for other purposes besides digestion. And it's a crucial neurotransmitter hormone for implementing or initiating the release of hydrochloric acid, which then neutralizes sterilizes our food, as well as also helps to begin the breakdown. But if that's not being accomplished, then the rest is shit. No pun intended. And then the body can't assimilate it. Okay, so then what we have is larger molecules, or particles of, I almost called them marticles. I should call them articles. Of carbs, sugars. So we have larger sugar particles circulating throughout the system. We have larger protein particles circulating throughout the system. And the body doesn't recognize these as food, or usable particles. It believes it's well, there isn't, there's not the right word for it. So I just want to, at least I'm not coming up with it at this moment, but the body cannot distinguish the difference between a bacteria and a protein particle. Let me just put it to you that way. We have to, this is where our awareness comes in. And granted, if we're not paying attention to stabilizing the stress system, then we're not participating in our health effectively, and therefore the body will begin to activate the immune system, because it's got to go out and try to deactivate these particles that are circulating throughout the system. This is where autoimmune disorders come in. This is where hormonal issues come in further, because the stress system consistently is activated. Okay, this is why we have higher levels of obesity, cancer. All the degenerative issues are as a result of these activated stress systems. And of course, it's going to be unique between me and you based on our epigenome. So the fact that we're talking blood type doesn't take into account the epigenome. You see, the blood type is actually, these are antigens. Okay, I've been digging into this. So what you have, if you're an A type, that's an A antigen with a B antibody, which means that's the reason why you can't have B type blood, because you have antibodies in your body that will actually try to kill off those antigens, that B antigen blood, because an antigen is a protein, where it's a glycoprotein, also known as it's called an oligosaccharides. Okay. So these antigens are, it's interesting. So, but they're part of, where am I trying to go with this? They're part of the inherited aspect of our genome, what I refer to as the Mendelian inheritance, this is what determines your hair color, your eyes, the color of your eyes, the shape of your eyes, the shape of your fingers, the shape of your nose. This is what we inherit, and it's passed on from generation, and that is that part of your genome. The epigenome is not inherited. It's an adaptable system that reacts or is responding consistently to the environment. Okay, and so there's a lot of activations and deactivations that are occurring depending on the needs of the system. This is where the stress system comes in. So blood type is also passed on from generation to generation, and I'm not going to get into the specifics of blood type. That, if we want to talk about that in a separate chat, I'm happy to do so. You can also do your own looking into it, but these are antigens, which means that we have antibodies in our body. And so and through the evolution of man, A type, it seems, has been the one that's been around the longest, and subsequently things have evolved. Just like the endogenous opiate system evolved. Okay, studies are showing that at the origination point, there was a single type of opioid receptor that eventually diversified depending on the organism and the species. And so humans have 4 different types of receptors, and the predominant reason for the endogenous opioid system, number 1 is pain. So you think about when primitive man, and we were running and jumping and killing and getting hurt, we needed some sort of natural pain relief. So that's part of it. But there was also this concept of needing to bond, okay, in order to preserve the species. So this is the intelligence of nature. This is an incredible thing to be understanding, is this is what nature did all on its own without the intervention of man. The same thing can be said for the blood types. According to what we have seen so far, it appears as if the A types have been around the longest, but eventually other types began to evolve. O, they think, is the next one, and O is kind of like a morph. That, you know, there's a morphing that can happen, because you can have two parents with A type blood, but they can have an O type child, and it's just a morphing that occurs. But it's the type of antigens that are in the blood, and so the determination is that these are actually protection. This is a form of protection, just like a plant protects itself. So there was something in the environment at that point that the human body was requiring protection from. And I have my speculation. I can't, and then I started doing my research, because I just didn't want to say something without seeing if somebody else had a similar thought. And my belief is actually that it was a way of preventing us from eating other human type creatures, cannibalism, okay? Because, and what they're also noticing is that the different blood types are predominantly coming out of certain parts of the world. So the evolution or the development of a B blood type would in fact be something that would be related to because B antigens are actually found in bacteria. So that would be something that would the A type was protecting itself from, but through the bacteria, it's very, you know, I can see, and again, I'm not a full-on anthropologist and whatnot, so I'm not even an anthropologist. I'm thrilled and I'm loving anthropology, and I love speculating about these things, and I would love to sit down and do the research on these things to find this information, because it's intriguing to me to see where in the hell these blood types, what prompted the evolution of these blood types. But it clearly was about surviving an environment. If I did say anything else about it, that's what it comes down to. It's about surviving the environment. Just like plants produce chemicals that protect them in order to survive the environment that they're living in. Now, of course, we have reproduced like rabbits, and so we still have the blood type. Okay, we still have blood types, but they're not serving us at this point, because at this, and I've said this in other videos, it is evident to me that we are in fact allergic to our environment, because that's really what it is. I mean, these diseases that we're having, there's something in the environment that is prompting. So clearly, being a vegetarian as an A type doesn't protect me. Okay, it didn't protect me. Am I toying with the idea of going? I mean, there's all kinds of theories about going back to, you know, people are talking about just eat. I mean, this is where this came up. The person that was talking to me is he's just eating all meat and their byproducts. That's all he eats. He doesn't even throw vegetables or anything into that. And to me, that's just like, whoa. I struggle to think that that is all that we need. And so I'm going to continue doing the research, because I feel like the human body, as I said, although this evolved as a protection mechanism from something in the environment, it's on overdrive right now. Okay, it has now activated the stress system, because as I said, somebody with A type has B antibodies in them. Okay, so there's something about the environment, and there's a lot of bacteria in the environment now, especially with the amount of antibiotics that we have and antibacterial products. The bacterial resistance is growing, and so these bacteria are becoming more stronger. And if B antigens are in bacteria, this would be why we're all, our systems are constantly stressed. For those of us who are A's, because we're trying to combat whatever's in the environment. So I could get really, really complex. I can get very, very excited about this. I actually broke down in tears yesterday when all of this hit me, when I started realizing that this is a self-defense mechanism built into our system. And that the bottom line is, if we stabilize, to come at this and actually stabilize the body, stabilize the immune system. Somebody says to me, well, isn't that suppressing me? And it's like, no, especially if you're using oils, because there's very specific constituents in these oils that communicate through the acetylation and the phosphorylation pathways, which is how the DNA actually communicates. Those are the CPU units monitoring the environment, and those pathways are what notify the DNA of what is happening and what needs to take place. Then the DNA begins to adapt itself through the transponal elements. A lot of this is discussed in Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management. So the transponal elements now relocate and activate the production of oxidative stress as a protection mechanism, but that automatically kicks in the release of histamine. This is the initializing chemistry to all degeneration. How this plays out in the individual is really determined by the epigenome. This is the reason, number one, we've got to get away from one-size-fits-all remedies and suggestions and people going, hey, this worked for me, you should try this. This is the part of the aromagenomics plan, which its program is to help people understand or learn how to personalize this for themselves, because we all stand to benefit from the personalization. Because again, the way health issues roll out is very dependent upon your individual epigenome. So these acetylation, like I said, these pathways are the communication. This is how the DNA actually is notified and therefore now produces oxidative stress. Okay, your proteins, let's just say it this way, your macronutrients do not contain the information that is necessary for communicating through these pathways. Get this, you guys, they're in oils and they're actually in some vegetables. Okay, so we cannot just go all meat and all byproducts of animals. We just can't, because those constituents are found in some foods, and again, they're also in essential oils. So incorporating these vegetables into our daily diet, as well as with oils, we're now helping to notify the DNA that we're doing what we can to maintain stability in the system, and that we can kind of dial it down. But it also does involve the mindset. It's learning how to self-regulate those emotions. And I've started a 21-day challenge in the Heart Disposition group of 21 days of physical activity in order to make friends with our emotions and noticing the emotions that come up and how we can actually benefit from them. And I've been isolating perfectionism. I've got one on envy. So, and we're a week into it now, but you're welcome to join in and just try it and share, because this is how we're going to actually begin to get a hold of our system in order to begin to deactivate that stress system, stabilize that immune system, and help the way our body is responding to the environment, so that we no longer need to be eating such controlling diets. Okay, look, I get it. A high-fat diet with no carbohydrates, well, of course, you're going to force your body to burn fat. Of course you are, because it's kind of like when the adrenals are blown, they default to the thyroid. Okay, and then you have you oftentimes get false readings on your thyroid hormones, because the androgens that are being produced at that point, these stress the steroidal hormones that are being produced as a result of this activated stress system, now they act like these thyroid hormones, and so we can often get false reads on our blood test. So as I said, I can get very, very excited about this, but the possibility here is immense. And of course, we can still go with our old methods of trying to work with the one size fits all, and we can continue to try to control the body, because we do know for a fact that if we eliminate certain foods from our diet, we feel good. It's a pretty scary thing. I'm right there with you. The idea of going completely from my vegetables onto meat terrifies me. But like I said, when I can see that these constituents that are in oils are also in some of the foods that are necessary for communicating with the DNA, I'm not against eating fish, okay? Because those are some healthy fats, all right? I'm getting this, and I'm willing to try it. And so I do understand the concerns that we have about letting go of something that has worked for us. But the fact is it's worked. But as I was telling somebody, actually I'm going to go on here live in a few minutes and talk about what it means to actually force something. You know, when we try to force something to happen, we try to control something, it's giving us a false sense of momentum. It's not sustainable. And so therefore eating meat and only its byproducts with no carbohydrates it only works for so long, but it's no longer sustainable, because the brain requires sugars and proteins, and as it does fats, it requires all the macronutrients. The system, the body, requires all the macronutrients. We've been programmed to believe that we need all these different products that have all these different things added to it. You know, a big concern that I have, one of the researches I've been doing today was the oligosaccharides are actually being added to vaccinations and other medications, as well as in some of our foods. Okay, this would be a problem if this is in fact, you know, going against what our blood types are. Okay, so it tells me it's more advantageous for us to step away from all these processed foods. And yes, we've been talking about this for years, but now there's evidence to say, get away from this. Okay, get away from the processed foods. Go to a wholesome diet. And this is what I talk about in Breaking the Cycle of Disease Management. Getting into a wholesome diet, incorporating oils on a regular basis. And you don't have to worry about a blood type diet. You don't have to worry about a gluten-free diet, especially when you start factoring in how to stabilize the system through the mind, through the diet, and with the oils. Okay, again, the oils do not suppress the immune system. If you've already got health issues going on, they will communicate with the DNA to begin to stabilize that, modify immune activity, and in the meantime be helping to combat whatever is going on and begin to restore wellness as well as health. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. There's links in the description box below. Please, you know, hit me up, claim your gift for the Breaking the Cycle Disease Management. There's also another gift in there for you, which would be a free 30-minute coaching session with me on one, you know, on your context around control, say for instance, or other health issues. That's what you get if you sign up at my website. I'm also going to make sure that you have the link to that hormonal piece that I wrote, so that you can begin to take a look at that stress system, as well as the heart disposition group, and on Facebook, because I think it's really important. And if you haven't joined the Synergescence page or the Revolutionary Aromatherapy, the distinction between those two is I'll continue to talk about oils on Synergescence, but a Revolutionary Aromatherapy is where we're really going to dive into how to use oils when it comes to stabilizing the immune system. And of course, it's going to be generalized, but at least you're getting information that's very beneficial there. All right, that's free to join too. So you guys, thanks so much. Take care, and I will talk with you soon.